as we know, the NFL, copycat league. Most people are chasing what is the best, most recent successful trend. Andy Reid's offense, Kyle Shanahan's, which is a little bit of a throwback, but you have out there with the LA Rams, you got the 49ers, you got teams out there that are finding success on the offensive side of the ball, and a lot of it has to do with pre-snap motion. Like, that's a big in vogue thing. Would you agree with that? Pre-snap motion is pretty in vogue right now in the higher end offenses.
I would say that's correct. You want to get a defense leaning, and that's kind of the direction that they go with that. Yes, the Jets, I believe, are worst in the NFL at that, by the way.
So why would you not use pre-snap motion consistently?
Theoretically, the theory is you're not giving anything away. If you come up, especially if you come up in a balanced formation, if you love to run 2 tight end sets, if you're running 12 personnel, you really don't want to do any pre-snap motion because you've come out perfectly balanced, and you're not tipping your hand on anything, moving a guy or anything else. When you move a guy, you are tipping something. You know, the best use of motion I've ever seen is the Patriots trying to get equal blocking opportunities in the run game with the quarterback as a runner, and they'll use a wide receiver to come out, and then he will crack back and it take 2 blockers out of the play. You know, you get 2 tacklers out of the play with 1 blocker, so you get a numbers advantage in the run game, and that's how they've been able to get Cam Newton some of these outside zone runs. But overall, motion, you know, it can tell you if you're man or zone, can kind of tell you who's doing what and that kind of thing. You could do it. But, you know, you don't want to give something away. If I'm coming up on a goal line set and I'm coming out 12, I'm not doing I'm not motioning the tight end. There's no point.
Okay, so Steve Palazzolo tweeted this out. Lowest percentage of shifts and or motion in the NFL. Number 32, the New York Jets.
Figured.
Sorry, Giants.
Okay.
31, the New York Jets.
I figured, because I watched the Jets tape and I was like, man, these guys never move.
Number 30, the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Number 29, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 28, the Philadelphia Eagles. And number 27, the Cincinnati Bengals. There's an interesting commonality in all of those offenses.
West Coast offenses.
That's one of them. The other one is they're all struggling.
Well, yeah.
Currently.
The Bengals offense is struggling because their line sucks, though.
They are struggling because of the line, rookie quarterback,
right.
Whatever you want to say. I'm saying the commonality through there. Yeah, you had a couple of moments with Gardner Minshew and the Jacksonville Jaguars, but we knew they would come back to earth a little bit. Mm-hmm. Right now, Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, at one point we were talking about that being the design of the future and what they did when they went to win a Super Bowl. But at least here in pre-snap motion, look, I'm not saying this is an end-all, be-all. I'm saying it's an interesting observation on, we already knew this about Pat Shurmur's offense, but look at the rest of the league. Look at these bottom-tier offenses that are all currently struggling, and yet that's one commonality that at least we can all see that they have.
Yeah. There are 2 West Coast offenses out there, 2 branches to that, the Shanahan tree and the Reid tree. And if you look, the Reid tree doesn't do a lot of motion. Shanahan tree does. Andy Reid is the lone exception, as he has now incorporated a lot of that. But you look at his down trace guys like Nagy and Doug Peterson, who you just mentioned. So guys, they don't do a lot of motion, stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. I think that and Shurmur, who comes off the Reid tree,
that's right.
Doesn't do a lot of. So it's interesting to me that's the John Gruden. I don't know where the Raiders are on that because Gruden comes off the Reid side of the house.
And I don't have the rest of the list right in front of me. This is all he put out. But I think that's kind of interesting. We were talking about some of the numbers on the offensive side of the ball for the Broncos versus the Jets because we have those numbers out. Jets are basically last in so many categories, and the Broncos are second or third, maybe even fourth to the bottom in a lot of categories too. And the Giants, if we went through their numbers, they have
their offense is hapless,
brutal. Like the worst team in the NFC by point differential, like by far. And so you kind of go through that, and like I said, it doesn't mean it means everything. But I just wonder if you're an experienced offensive coordinator or play caller, and you're seeing the fad, if you will, or what's in vogue around the rest of the league and what they're all doing, and you're sticking to your guns and doing it, yet the results are not following. If there's something to say about either being stuck in your ways or simply ignoring the in vogue and thinking it'll eventually come back to you. I can't really understand, at least from my brain, and it doesn't mean it has to be everybody's, but for my brain, I don't understand when you're putting up that kind of low production and you're in the same company as the other teams that are putting up low production, how you don't say, I may need to relook at the way I'm doing things.
Sometimes, though, changing things midstream doesn't work. I'll reference Bill Walsh. They tried to incorporate the shotgun They didn't, nobody was using the shotgun back in the 80s. They tried to incorporate the shotgun. And because they were like, oh, this is look at all the advantages of this thing. We're gonna plug this one in. Well, then all of a sudden, because their quarterback couldn't yell very loud, they couldn't hear. The center couldn't hear, and the people couldn't hear what he was doing. The line couldn't hear what the quarterback was saying because he was further away and trying to yell. And they started getting penalties out the yang and all this kind of stuff. There are things, pluses and minuses to adding or doing different things than you've done and you practice differently midstream. I get where you're coming from, and you're probably right. And they probably do need to incorporate more of that. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see, honestly, if Phil Lindsay was healthy, I think you would see more of it. Because I think you'd have a lot of formations where you'd have Lindsay coming off the jet or the fly sweep,
Why can't you do that with Deontay Spencer or KJ Hamler? I'm not even advocating that they do this right now.
Right.
I'm saying, why didn't you?
Well, Phil's an actual threat to run the ball versus those two. Spencer, you might hand off. You're not handing off to KJ Hamler out of the backfield. We've seen what
they already did. They did this last week.
As I say, didn't we see one or two of those already? That didn't go very well.
No, I mean, he ain't gained. Go look at his numbers here. I mean, I thought he had one nice gain. He had no, I take that back. 1 for -2.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't think that went very well. Spencer, might be the one that you do that to, so because he's got he's used to doing that, running through traffic. But Phil Lindsay's a guy that you would do that for. I just feel like that.
The other one went 1 for 9 against the Steelers.
And that was Hamler?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Okay. I feel like that, you got to be careful about implementing too much new stuff midstream. You got a new quarterback on a short week. You want to make sure he's got the basics down.
But, Ben, isn't this the time to be creative? Like, isn't this exactly the moment when you say, you know what?
You have to win this game. You can't.
Not that game. I'm saying just at this point in the season, it's all going kind of, I don't know.
The next game is. You got a longer week.
You're going to have to
Patriots. You're going to have to get creative.
We've been talking about this on the defensive side. Vic is down a lot of his top tier blue chip players. You're going to have to get more creative. You're going to have to go outside your comfort zone in order to get the requisite pressure. It's the same thing on the offense. Pat Shurmur's going to have to go outside his comfort zone to make this work with this kind of amalgamation of guys.
I agree with you. The difference is I don't agree with you for the Jets game. I do for the Patriots game. And the simple reason is short week versus long. You get that time to put that in, to put one or two little concepts in. You just don't have that this week on a truncated schedule.
Yeah, and I think that is probably where we settle on for this, but it's something to keep in mind. I don't have a ton of faith necessarily that anything is going to change this year, but this is something that I will be bringing back up next year in the offseason. I guarantee it. Pat Shurmur being here, and I imagine the coaching staff will be here too. We will be talking about, okay, this is the time to start implementing some new things.
Let's grow this offense a little bit. Don't let it become stagnant.